Welcome back to Josh and Kristie Stealing the Internet. I'm Josh.
And I'm Kristie. We're coming to you from our new setup. We upgraded our microphones. We rearranged the library/studio. So we are still working out a little bit of the kinks with the audio and the lighting. So let us know what you guys think.
Today's episode is all about office drama.
So let's dive in.
Am I the asshole for telling a guy to shut up during a job interview?
Wow, that seems a little harsh and rude because it's a job interview. It's not like you know this person well, probably. Yeah, that's a little bit of an asshole behavior, I think. That guy's probably not going to want to work for you anymore, but I mean, it sounds like you don't want to work with him either.
I was interviewing this guy for a very good software engineering position. He passed the first round, and both I and everyone involved in the second round really liked his resume and experience. On paper, he had everything we were looking for, and honestly, this looked like a life-changing opportunity for him.
Okay, that's a little conceited of you. How do you know this was life-changing for him? This could have been, I don't know. You sound like you think this job is too good for him, and that seems very condescending.
I mean, anyone would be honored to work at this company.
Of course, it is the best company, because it's your company, so yes.
Then he shows up, very serious and not smiling at all. I'm used to that in tech interviews, and I understand it can be a very intimidating environment. We did a round of introductions, and then he opened up the interview by saying, "Let me tell you a little about myself." We said, "Okay, go for it." He started talking about his personal and professional background. About 3 minutes, I jumped in and asked a follow-up question based on something he mentioned. He replied, "I will answer, just give me a moment," and continued talking. A coworker jumped in with another question, and he said the same thing to her. At this point, we were kind of looking at each other, but decided to let him continue and give him the benefit of the doubt. But after more than 5 minutes, I jumped in again with another question. I had to talk over him to do it. He finally paused and answered, but in such a long-winded way that he ended up veering into another topic. My coworker asked another question, and the same thing happened. At this point, I was ready to end the interview. I tried to politely wrap it up several times, but he was unable to read the room and just kept talking. I finally raised my voice slightly and said something like, "Thank you very much for sharing your background. In the interest of time, I'd like to ask if you have any questions for us." This is standard protocol and helps us prepare answers for future interviews. He asked a question about the team. As I was answering, he raised his finger and interrupted to talk more about his background. I let it go. Then he asked another question, which my coworker started to answer, but again, he spoke over her to talk about himself. I tried once more to interrupt politely, but he kept talking. At this point, I was done. I said, "John, you really have to shut up and listen." He was surprised, as was my coworker, but he finally stopped talking. I continued. "You walked into this room with a 99% chance of getting the job. Now that chance is 0. The only reason is because, in less than 15 minutes, you've demonstrated that you don't have the capacity to listen at all. So I'm telling you now, you're not getting the job. But if you take away anything from this interview, let it be this. No matter how good you are technically, if you can't listen, you'll never excel in this career." He apologized and said, "Can we start again?" I replied, "You had your chance. Best of luck in your future interviews. Make sure you listen." Looking back, I know I could have handled that differently, but I still feel bad for the guy.
Okay, everybody sucks here. This guy came into the job interview and was probably nervous. Like, every interview is nerve-wracking, right? He had a script in his head of what he wanted to say and all the points he wanted to make to be like, "I will be a good hire. This is the reasons you should hire me." He had a script, and you tried to deviate from the script that he had written in his head.
I fully believe that a software engineer walked into an interview with a script in their head, right?
Yes, absolutely 100%.
This guy's script just happened to be 15 minutes long.
And you kept interrupting it and derailing his script. That was very rude of you. Okay, no, actually, in an interview, you should be open to questions and like kind of go where the interviewer like wants to go in the conversation and stuff.
I agree. If you have a script, that's sort of what your cover letter should be. The interview is about answering their questions. They usually have follow-up questions and stuff. It's good to have a little bit of prepared for talking points, but it's mostly about answering their questions at that point.
Yes, they've already seen your resume. You don't need to go in and give them a whole spiel about your whole background. So John, the interviewee here, sucks because he was not flexible and like taking the hints that they were giving him about where this should go and how the interview should go. Like, the interviewer should be the one who determines how the interview is structured. And John came into this with a structure in his mind and would not deviate from that structure, which is bad.
He almost has a politician's point of view of answering questions, where he's like, I'll get back to that in a minute, and then he keeps talking about what he wants to. Or he answers the question kinda and then goes off into another subject that he wants to talk about. It's a very politician way of answering questions because you have the floor now. Why would I give up any of my time?
However, OP is definitely an asshole for the way that they handled it. That was so rude. I kind of feel like as the interviewer, you should have just let him go. Try to cut him off if you could, politely, and then be like, well, thank you very much for your time. We'll be in contact, and usher him out the door. You didn't need to like yell at him and like tell him that, you know, he blew his chance of getting the job.
Yeah, I feel like once you cut someone off and say, you need to learn how to listen, you're just talking down to them at that point.
Yeah.
Like, it does kind of sound like John might need to learn to listen, but it also sounds like maybe John just interviews different than you wanted him to.
The other thing that concerns me is the OP's coworker, who was also sitting on the interview, looked very surprised, he said, when OP started telling John that he needed to shut up and listen. Was the interview really going as badly as OP thought it was? Or was like the coworker like, yeah, okay, we're having a discussion and everything. And just OP was the only one who was getting very mad and thinking this was going poorly because it wasn't going along with his script that he had written in his head.
That's very possible. I didn't consider that.
I am almost wondering if this is two autistic people. The interviewer and the interviewee are both autistic, and they do not deal with change well. Things are not going how they planned in their head, and they are not dealing with it well, either of them.
Yeah, this is just two competing scripts, and the interviewer wins a tie, right?
Yes. But I do feel like that's why the coworker who was also in on the interview was very surprised when he started blowing up because she thought things were going fine.
But if somebody screwed up the interview to this extent, would you let them start over, you think?
Oh, no, I wouldn't. This is when you just quietly but politely say, thank you very much for your time. We'll be in contact, and usher them out the door.
Yeah, you probably didn't need to
berate him.
Yeah, you didn't need to berate him. Just be like, we'll get in touch, and then you have the option of just sending him a no thank you letter.
Yeah, it's so easy to say, well, that's all the time we have for today. We got to get to, we have other things we need to get to. So thank you for your time. Goodbye.
Reddit is kind of the opinion of you were a little harsh, but you're not the asshole.
Okay.
Because he was being really annoying, mostly. Top comment, not the asshole. Honestly, he needed to hear it from someone in a position of hiring authority. Sure, his ego may be bruised, but that likely needed to happen. I can see it as being a little bit of a harsh lesson, but also, like, School of Hard Knocks is not something that you need to do to somebody, you know?
Yeah.
As a stranger to this person, it's not your job to change who they are.
Like, does John need to learn that this probably isn't the best in interviews? Yeah, but I don't know if it should have been you to tell him that.
I would argue it's not you who needed to tell him that after telling him to shut up. Not the asshole. In this day and age of litigious happy people, it is very rare for a candidate to get legitimate feedback, especially about why specifically they are not getting a job that hasn't gone through 5 different HR sanitization protocols to the point of being useless. You did this guy a favor by actually being honest with him and giving him actionable feedback for future interviews. If he can't understand that, then he is only proving you more correct in your assessment. Were you a bit harsher than strictly necessary? Probably. But it definitely sounds warranted to get the point across.
Okay, that's kind of what I mean, though. In this day and age of litigious happy people, you should not have said that because he's going to sue you for discrimination against him because he's autistic and he doesn't interview well.
I mean, but by your own assumptions, so is OP.
That doesn't mean that autistic people cannot discriminate against other autistic people. In fact, if they're competing types of autistics, the discrimination might be worse.
Is autism even something that can legally count as discrimination?
It is legally, I think, considered a disability, and you can get like ADA accommodations for it. That's the word, accommodations.
If you're far enough on the spectrum?
Yes.
Oh, one last comment. Not the asshole. I messed up interviewing someone once. It was someone that worked with my then wife, now ex. Interview was going okay, and he started dropping F-bombs. I don't mind foul language. The army taught me how to use fuck like it's a comma. But there's a time and place for it, and an interview is not the place. I hired him against my better judgment and ended up firing him a year later because he was horrible at his job. Trust your guts. You made the right call.
Yeah, swearing in any job interview is extremely unprofessional, and I wouldn't hire anyone who is doing that because you're supposed to be on your best behavior in a job interview.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty low bar to hurdle, not swearing in the middle of an interview. Am I the asshole for giving all of my coworkers a different reason for why I have missing fingers?
That is hilarious and I love it. I swear, if I had a missing something that was visible, I would also be doing this. I'd come up with different ridiculous things.
When I was young and didn't know not to ask people this question, I have definitely had people just make up reasons.
Oh yeah, a moose bit me.
Alligator is what they told me.
See, that seems a little too normal. I want something weird. Moose, a beaver attack.
Oh, beaver attack, okay. I have 3 fingers missing on my dominant hand. It's fine, I can type and everything, and even manage to tie my shoelaces most days. However, I won't deny that it looks a bit odd to most people. What are you doing?
I'm wondering which finger he has, how much you can do.
Oh, okay, they're going to tell you in a second instead of you over there trying making gang symbols. What are you doing?
Which finger does he have? Is it the middle finger? I hope it's the middle finger.
However, I won't deny that it looks a bit odd to most people. I only have my 4th and 5th fingers, so my hand looks a bit like a child's drawing of a rabbit, and not a good one.
So he doesn't even have a thumb? Oh, that's terrible.
I assume those are the 4th and 5th fingers, right?
Yeah.
It's not these two?
No.
It's not like some weird British measurement where they do it backwards?
I would assume these 2 are the 2 that he has, 4th and 5th.
Me too.
Okay. But man, does he have a thumb too, or... No, he's missing 3 fingers, and he has his 4th and 5th. That means his thumb is gone, too. He's counting his thumb as a finger, which is technically wrong.
Is it?
I mean, it is a phalange, but it has its own name. It is a thumb. You should say I'm missing a thumb and 2 fingers. Or else, why does it have its own name?
I always assumed it was like how all tortoises are turtles, but not all turtles are tortoises.
I think it is.
I'm used to people asking about it, usually after staring for a good minute or 2, but I still find it annoying. I really don't get why you'd think it would be an okay thing to ask someone about, but hey, I wasn't raised in a barn. Usually I nip the questioning in the bud by just explaining the truth from the get-go and assuming that enough people will gossip about it that the message will spread by the end of the day. It always does.
Yeah, asking someone why you're missing body parts is very rude.
It's extremely rude to ask somebody about their physical appearance. Why do you look like that?
Yeah.
It's so weird. Anyway, I started a new job about a month ago, and I honestly could not face going through the same cycle again. I felt like the time had come to not play into it anymore, and to make something out of it, and I decided to make myself laugh. When the first new coworker asked about it, I completely lied and told her that I chewed them off as a baby. I then decided to tell the next person who asked that I cut them off with a plastic knife at a picnic. And the next person that I was born with 6 fingers and they removed too many, and so on.
Okay, some of those are obviously fake.
If somebody told me I was born with 6 fingers and they took off too many, I would assume that you were upset that I asked and you made something up on the spot.
I'd be like, geez, sorry I asked, okay?
Yeah.
Lesson learned.
I'm sorry, that was rude, you're right.
Yeah.
They were all genuinely ridiculous reasons, but I'm a good actor and they actually believed my stupid lies. I didn't expect them to. A plastic knife through bone, but there you go.
This is something you could do. You were so good at getting people to believe ridiculous lies.
Maybe our nieces and nephews are just gullible.
Yeah, I was also thinking about when we were older in college and you lied to the freshmen and got them to believe a whole bunch of weird stuff too.
Maybe freshmen in college are just gullible.
Yeah, they are pretty dumb.
Maybe they just thought there's no way I'd lie about how I lost my fingers.
If you're gonna lie about something, that's the thing to lie about.
Honestly, somebody who's missing their fingers, for some reason, I assume that they are gonna lie to me about it.
Yeah, because it's like, it's either an embarrassing story that because they did something stupid and don't want you to know that, hey, I stuck my hand down the garbage disposal because I'm dumb. So they'll come up with a cooler reason than that, right?
Maybe. They're either gonna just tell you bluntly, or they're gonna make up a fun story. I feel like this is a very normal decision. Within about 3 days, I learned that my coworkers had been arguing about the actual reason, and it seems like a lot of them now actively dislike me for lying to them. I'm probably going to have to make some cupcakes over the weekend with my super cool 3D printed adaptive whisk to get back into their good books. What is a 3D printed adaptive whisk?
It's a whisk that he can use with only his 2 fingers.
Oh! Yeah, that could be it.
He 3D printed a whisk to use with his disability.
It is his dominant hand. Anyway, I told this story to my brother today, and he told me that I was an asshole because I caused tension within the office on my first day, and made people feel stupid for being gullible and believing my lies. My argument is that I'm not the asshole because they were asking a rude, albeit common, question, and because I didn't do it with the intention of deceiving them. I was just honestly fed up with the question, and didn't think they'd think I actually severed 3 fingers with dental floss when I was 3. I'll accept my judgment, though.
Dude, if you did wrap dental floss around your fingers real tight and left it on long enough, your fingers would fall off.
I don't think that's the story that she was trying to tell, though.
Oh,
I think she just meant, real quick. Garroted them right off.
With dental floss. Yeah, so your coworkers don't like you anymore because you lied to them on your first day? Well, you don't like them anymore because they asked you very personal, invasive questions on your first day.
That is awfully early in the relationship to ask someone about their disability.
And I get being curious. Dude, they're missing fingers. Is there a fun story behind that? She gave you a fun story.
That's true. She gave you a fun story to talk about. She had the whole office talking about her for the whole first day. The whole first 3 days.
Because everyone is curious about missing limbs and things. But we should all just know as adults, you don't ask about it until you get to know the person really well.
Yeah, kind of like it'll probably just come up in conversation at some point, right?
Yeah. Keep your curiosity to yourself. That's the polite thing to do. Okay, I do think that doing this at a new job is maybe the wrong time to do it. I do love the lying when coming up with ridiculous stories about this, but with your new coworkers might not be the best time. You're going to have to work with these people for hopefully years. Maybe do it another time.
It does sound like these coworkers are too thin-skinned to be playing pranks on.
Yeah.
If they took offense that you didn't want to answer a question that they shouldn't have been asking, top comment, not the asshole. This is funny, and anyone offended is being way too uptight.
Yeah.
Pretty straightforward and to the point right there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not saying doing it with your new coworkers is an asshole thing to do because they were assholes first and they deserve it. But I'm just saying you want your new coworkers to like you, and now they don't.
That's true. This does have consequences for you, doesn't it?
Yeah, but I don't think you were the asshole for doing it, but you do got to deal with now your coworkers being a little bit miffed at you.
A little bit. If I had a more noticeable injury, I would probably do the same. I once told a girl the scar on my knee was from a bank robbery when I got shot. People seem gullible when you tell them stories about injuries. Your coworkers are just so damn rude. Not the asshole. They aren't supposed to ask you about your fingers in the first place, let alone discussing it, and talking behind you. You were embarrassed and pissed off at them, asking the same questions and not minding their own business, so you joked about it. But they were too dumb to recognize it. You aren't the asshole, coworkers are though. Hey, if you're enjoying this episode so far, hit that subscribe button for us.
Yeah, we really appreciate your support, and it allows us to do things like buy beautiful new microphones.
Am I the asshole for eating sexy potatoes?
Sexy potatoes?
Sexy potatoes.
What were they shaped like?
Potatoes, I assume.
When they're sexy potatoes, they shaped like certain sexy body parts? That's the only thing I can think of. What does sexy potatoes mean?
It honestly feels ridiculous that I have to post this, but my coworker has been getting on to me about this for weeks now, so I have to ask. My whole life, I've been eating potatoes by microwaving them, then biting into them, eating them hot dog style.
Are you a psychopath? Mashed potatoes this way?
No. I think he just microwaves the potato and then bites into it.
Okay, that's like psychopath behavior. Okay, first of all, I thought you said mashed potatoes. So I'm like, how thick are your mashed potatoes that you're rolling them into a log and they're staying that way?
I don't know how you got mashed.
I don't know either.
My whole life I've been eating potatoes by microwaving them, then biting into them, eating them hot dog style. That's all I've read so far.
So you're eating a potato like an apple, essentially. Why is that sexy? I still don't get the sexy part. Okay, psychopath, yes. Not sexy, though.
This is the easiest, most convenient, and intuitive way for me to eat potatoes.
How do you put butter on them? You need butter.
Maybe you can dip.
I feel like butter would get everywhere if you're holding a potato and taking bites out of it. You're either not putting stuff on it to make it flavorful, which is psychopath behavior. You need butter and salt. Or you're just making a mess everywhere and your hands all buttery, and that is also psychopath behavior.
For some reason, I knew you had strong opinions about potatoes. I don't know why it didn't occur to me that you were going to react so strongly to this.
I don't want to say there's a right way to eat potatoes, but there's definitely wrong ways, and this is one of them.
I think this is how people in Japan eat them, or at least this is how I was taught by my Japanese parents to eat them. Whenever I go to a grocery store, I always pick out the most easily biteable potatoes, which are generally longer and thinner than most potatoes.
So someone's mad at you because you're eating dick potatoes? What, do they get mad at you when you eat bananas too? What about carrots? Are you just not allowed to eat anything phallus-shaped at work?
Apparently.
That seems a little extreme.
Look, there's fatter potatoes you could be buying.
But then you could not eat them like the psychopath you are. They would not be biteable.
So, I work in an office of about 30 people. We all typically bring our own lunch, and I usually just eat at my desk while doing work. No one has ever commented about how I eat potatoes, but I do eat them quite frequently. Recently, a new person was hired, and she clearly has a problem with the way I eat potatoes. A couple times, she pulled me aside and asked me that I just eat potatoes a more normal way. I asked her what she meant, and she said I was eating potatoes too suggestively. I was a little shocked, because I literally just have my eyes glued to my screen whenever I'm eating and barely pay attention to how I eat. I told her no one else seemed to have a problem with the way I eat potatoes, but she insisted others were just too polite to say anything. I asked a few other coworkers who were all just as confused as me about what she was saying. I figured no one else really had a problem with it, but this happened multiple times. She kept coming to me and asking me to tone down the way I eat, even accusing me of going out of my way to choose sexy potatoes.
I'm sorry, this is ridiculous. Also, I wasn't going out of my way to choose sexy potatoes, but now I will be. That is how vindictive and petty I am. I am only bringing phallus-shaped food to work now, and I shall be eating it as suggestively as possible.
If your coworker came to you and asked if they eat potatoes too sexily, I would have to be like, I don't think I've ever bothered to look at you while you're eating the potato, but I think you're going to have to eat a potato in front of me now.
I'd be like, I don't know, but let's eat a potato now and see.
Yeah,
Because now I'm curious.
Yeah, I'm not trying to be weird, but...
You brought it up first, and now I need to know. How are you eating a potato?
It is now my life's mission to see you eat a potato. I'm sorry, this is just how things have turned out.
I'm telling you, that coworker is super annoying bringing that up, and I'd be eating a lollipop at my desk all day, every day.
I've considered bringing them other ways, but this is just the easiest way for me to eat them. And they're honestly delicious like this to me. I asked her to maybe just not watch me eat, but apparently that's just not feasible. Unfortunately, she reported me, and now I have a meeting with HR next week. This seems really dumb to me, but am I the asshole for eating sexy potatoes?
Not the asshole, but the asshole, because that is super weird way to eat potatoes. But I mean, you do you, so not the asshole, and nobody should be bothering you about the way you eat potatoes.
In this specific aspect of the potato eating, not the asshole.
Yes.
In every other way of eating the potato, though, you're a little scary.
But the coworker has no reason to comment on the way you are eating. Why is she watching you eat and is so focused on how you're eating? That is super creepy. Do you ever just sit and watch your coworkers eat? No, that's weird.
I actively try not to watch my
Right?
coworkers eat. That's what my phone is for. I look at my phone so I don't have to see them chew.
Nobody likes other people's mouth movement and noises. No, bleh.
There's a few edits.
Wait, before we get to that, though, I'd tell HR, I'm like, okay, this is ridiculous, but if you want, I shall loudly announce, hey, coworker, I'm going to eat my potato now. Avert thine eyes!
Or eat in the cafeteria with everyone else. And let the whole office see you eat sexy potatoes.
I'm just saying, it sounds like a small workplace where they all eat at their desks. There might not be a cafeteria.
It's 30 people, and there's usually at least a kitchen area.
Yeah, a break room.
Did I say cafeteria? Mm-hmm. I guess I just meant tables near the kitchen.
Yeah. I don't feel like you should have to hide your potato eating for anyone.
That's fair. You are a fan of potatoes and proud of it. Don't hide who you are. Edit. Please stop asking me for videos of me eating potatoes. It's creepy and weird, and Elsa would be extremely boring and the least sexy thing you'll ever watch. I don't believe him.
Is this a guy or a girl?
I don't think it says.
I'm not sure which one's better or which one's worse. I don't know.
I feel like they're trying to downplay how they eat the potatoes. And I agree, there's nothing really sexy about eating a potato, but I feel like they're being a little defensive about how they eat the potatoes.
Mm-hmm.
There's another edit to explain how to properly microwave a potato, but I don't think we need to read that one.
No. Although, yeah, also, how do they take it out of the microwave? It's too hot to usually touch if you're fully cooking it. Do they let it sit before they just bite into it, or are they just burning their mouth like lava? Because that's even more psychopath behavior.
Make sure you let the potato cool for at least 10 minutes, potentially longer, or it'll be too hot to eat.
Okay, that eases my...
If you don't immediately cut it open and mash it, that potato is just fire inside. Sorry, apparently I do need to read some of his potato instructions because you're curious.
I just want to know how crazy they are.
When you're ready to consume, I usually hold it wrapped in a napkin. I'm sacrilegious, so I eat the skin, but you don't have to. I'll sometimes add butter on regular potatoes, but I normally just sprinkle some salt as I eat it. Sweet potatoes, I just eat as is. Either way, you'll probably need to drink water or some liquid with it. Enjoy.
Yeah, without butter, potatoes can be very dry.
He eats the potatoes like one of those hot dog eating contestants. I need to dip it in water in between the bites. All right, and there is an update after the HR meeting.
Okay.
So, I had a couple meetings with HR.
A couple? Ooh.
The first one was on my own yesterday morning, along with the HR woman. According to her, a coworker had reported me for sexual harassment and creating a hostile work environment. Not gonna lie. After hearing those accusations, I was honestly pretty scared. Sexual harassment is a really serious charge. I was allegedly making lewd gestures while eating, despite repeatedly being asked to stop. I told her exactly what had happened. I was eating potatoes the same way I always had in the 4 years I've worked at this office. No one else had ever had a problem with this until now. The new coworker approached me, telling me I was eating potatoes inappropriately, and told me to eat them another way. I had explained to her that this was how I grew up eating them and would not stop. If it bothered her, she could and should look away. I continued eating potatoes this way. Then over the next several weeks, she kept complaining about my potatoes every time I ate them this way. As I explained my side, I could tell HR was getting really annoyed. I don't think she believed that this was all there was to it. She pressed for more information. Are you sure you didn't do anything to make her believe you were being inappropriate? Are you sure you weren't harassing her, even unintentionally? I told her I never even talked to her unless it was about work or if she approached me first. HR thanked me for coming in and told me she'd get back to me. I think she met with the coworker after that. Then later in the day, we had a meeting with the three of us. Coworker said I lied about not doing anything to make her uncomfortable. That after the first time she came to me asking me to eat my potatoes differently, I dismissed it as a joke. Which, to be fair, I did, because, deadass? Who wouldn't take it as a joke? Then she claimed that after each time she asked me to tone it down, I escalated by choosing increasingly sexy potatoes to eat in front of her. By which point, I'm pretty sure HR was trying hard not to roll her eyes. I responded by telling coworker I literally gave zero thoughts about her when I bought my potatoes and selected them based on ease of cooking and eating. She accused me of making eye contact with her while I was eating, which I think I did every time she watched me eat. Because it's really uncomfortable having someone watch me eat, which I explained and told her I'd repeatedly asked her to stop watching me eat. She then pointed out that no one else eats potatoes this way, and the only reason I would do so is to try to be provocative. Which I swear to God, HR almost laughed at her. I just showed her a video of Japanese people eating potatoes with your hands and biting into them. HR woman knows me and knows I'm not the type to harass someone or deliberately make a hostile work environment, and at the end, she said something like, "I'm sorry about the misunderstanding. Perhaps it really would be best to look another way while your coworker is eating." Basically trying to politely tell coworker to get her head out of her ass. Then coworker tried to turn it around by claiming I was making a hostile work environment by telling our other coworkers bad things about her. But literally all I had done was ask others if they were uncomfortable with the way I eat, and explaining why I had asked them. Later, I talked to another coworker who had stopped bringing curry because of coworker. He had been unable to eat his regular Indian lunches in the office because of her. We were both extremely annoyed, and honestly, I just felt extremely uncomfortable being in an office where she was constantly judging Asian people's food. So I decided to file a report with an HR, as many of you suggested.
Yay! I'm glad. I'd be filing reports against her for creating a hostile work environment. Stop staring menacingly at me while I eat.
It sounds like she has a lot of food opinions.
Yeah. I mean, I do too. And I would be judging you for eating your potato like a psychopath. But I would keep that to myself and just silently judge you. You would never know I was judging you.
Oh, I think I would judge you out loud, but in a more fun way.
It depends on how well I knew the person.
That's true.
It sounds like they do not interact very much. So like acquaintances at best, I would never say anything. Someone I had been working with for a few years with and like had a good camaraderie going with. Oh yeah, I'd be like, what's wrong with you?
Oh, yeah.
You're so weird.
John, you're kind of a serial killer, aren't you?
Yeah.
Admit it. I can tell. There's signs. I pointed out how she was harassing Asian people for their food choices, and many of her comments towards me were bordering on sexual harassment.
Yeah, she's sexually harassing you by saying you're being all suggestive while you're eating.
A little bit, right? If you watch somebody eat like a hot dog or something, being like, you're being really lewd with that hot dog, and they're just eating, like, you're having ideas about them.
Who's the lewd one? Not the normal hot dog eating one.
Right. Indian coworker agreed to bring curry for lunch today, and in solidarity, I brought some too, along with my potatoes. She didn't comment at all, but she did give us dirty looks and made disgusted faces a few times. She just can't help but watch people eat.
What is her obsession with people eating? I think the problem is people eating turns her on.
Maybe.
She's like, stop turning me on while I'm at work. I'm trying to work here. Stop making me feel all sexy by eating your food over there all sexily.
Or
like a normal person.
Or they're not eating it sexy enough and they're ruining her kink.
Yeah. Someone's got some weird mental connections between like food and sex going on here. Someone's got a kink.
A little bit. I actually got called into a meeting this afternoon with my boss, who is also one of the founders of the company. He confessed that he didn't like her either, and that she had multiple complaints about her within the first month of her being hired. She's been here just under 2. And that he had hired her as a favor to his wife, because she is his wife's cousin. He apologized to me on her behalf, and assured me that he would talk to her. I decided to keep my harassment claim with HR, and had another meeting tomorrow. We'll see how this goes. Thank you all for your tips and suggestions. I will keep eating sexy potatoes for the foreseeable future.
You said that she's had multiple complaints about her in the first month, and I was like, oh, so she's just a bitch. Nobody likes her.
It sounds like nobody likes her. Well, that was a long one. But the Reddit comments are very short and to the point. They all say, not the asshole. Not the asshole. Enjoy your lunches.
Does anybody else think that eating a potato that way is psychopath behavior, though? I'm feeling that way a little bit less now that I know it's a cultural thing and that's just how Japanese people eat potatoes. And I guess if you grew up eating potatoes that way, it's not quite as psychopathy, but how do you put butter on them? They need butter.
I've seen Japanese people eating sweet potatoes like that. I didn't know they ate regular potatoes like that. But I don't know. I think you can add some just butter on top while you're eating it.
I feel like it would melt down the sides and get all over your hands. I just don't see a good way.
I don't know. Maybe they've got some tech that we don't know about, right?
Maybe they're just a lot healthier than Americans and don't put butter on their potatoes.
I mean, if it's a sweet potato, you don't need as much butter, really.
Yeah.
So you could get away with just a little bit of salt there, but like a dry potato that you microwaved, you need a little bit of something to lubricate it sexily. Some sour cream or some butter, maybe a little olive oil. I'm not, you're giving me a look like I'm being dirty, and no, those are all valid toppings. Am I the asshole for telling my coworker to message me instead of interrupting me?
Not the asshole. I am in a groove. I am focused on my work. Don't bother me unless it's an emergency.
This could have been an email.
This could have been an email.
I, 34 male, work in an open plan office. It's noisy, so I wear large noise-canceling headphones to concentrate.
The universal do not disturb sign.
This is very common in my office. My coworker, Jane, 50s female, is very social and often comes to my desk to chat about non-work related things, gossip, her weekend, etc. She frequently tries to talk to me while I'm clearly plugged in, forcing me to stop, take my headphones off, and ask her to repeat herself. It shatters my focus. Yesterday, I was on a tight deadline. Jane came over and started talking. I didn't hear her. She then tapped me hard on the shoulder, making me jump. I took my headphones off, and she looked annoyed. She said, "I was trying to ask you something." This is where I might be the asshole. I was stressed and blunt. I said, Jane, when I'm wearing these, it means I'm focusing. If it's not an urgent work emergency, can you please just send me a message? She looked really offended, said, fine, forget it, and walked off. Later, I heard her complaining to another colleague that I was rude and not a team player. I feel bad for snapping, but I'm also frustrated by the constant interruptions. Am I the asshole?
Not the asshole, but this is just a generational difference, I feel. The older generations are not used to having text messages or instant messaging or like emails and things, and they want to discuss everything in person. Whereas the younger generations are like, do not talk to me. Do not call me on the phone. That is terrible. Why would you do that when you could just send a text?
Yeah, if you're in your 50s, then you were probably in college or out of college when Instant Messenger came out, right?
Yes.
Like, you don't have that childhood memory of texting back and forth with your friends.
Mm-hmm. Everything was speaking in person. There is no messaging. So I do feel like the older generations have a harder time with that.
If I wanted to send a note to my friends, I had to walk it to them uphill in the snow. Both ways.
And that since you already walked it to them, you might as well just stay there and have a conversation instead of giving them a note. But no, I also get that, especially being ADHD. Like, when I am focused, and any distractions throw off the groove, and then I like lose all concentration. I'm like, what the heck was I even working on before I was interrupted? It totally ruins everything.
If you're in that zone and you have like your noise canceling headphones in and you're working really hard, it can just shatter everything, because then I'm like, well, as long as I'm here, I might as well check my email real quick, as long as I stop doing that other thing.
Yeah.
And you just go off on other tangents. It can get bad. Although I also am a little bit of the opinion, if somebody wants to talk to you about work, they should be able to walk up and ask you. I get that you're in the zone, and it sounds like Jane did not have a good reason for interrupting you. Mm-hmm. But there is a lot of reasons why I think it's valid to walk up and interrupt someone.
Yes, there could be, but OP was like on a deadline and like super, stressed out about reaching this deadline. I feel like at that point you need to almost put up a sign being like, do not disturb unless it's an emergency, because I am working.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people would assume the noise canceling headphones are that sign, unless OP just
Always
them all
wears
the time.
them. Yeah.
Yeah. There's noise canceling headphones, please do not disturb, and then there's I won't ever take these off, so you have to disturb.
And I do feel like it might be the latter, because open plan office, they probably always wear noise canceling headphones when they're trying to focus, which would probably be most of the time.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely have worked in open plan offices where a lot of the guys would just wear them all the time, and if you needed to ask them something, you could walk up and ask them. And they always did jump a little, but, usually don't get too mad at you for actually accidentally spooking them.
Everyone makes fun of me at work, because I work in the lab mostly by myself, but people come in and out occasionally to talk to me. And I always have one headphone in my ear playing music, but one ear free so I can hear what's going on around me, but still totally oblivious to people coming up to talk to me until they're right there. And then they're like, hey, Kristie. And I'm like, wah! And so people constantly are making fun of me for, they're like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to scare you. But I'm so easily scared at work. I am in my lab by myself, doing my own thing, grooving to some music, getting my tests done, and oh my God, there's a person!
Everyone at your work is terrifying. I get that, though, especially when you think you're all alone.
I'm in there singing along with my music, and then suddenly my boss appears next to me, and I'm like, oh my God! I hope I didn't sound too terrible.
Reddit is pretty universally not the asshole on this. Mm-hmm. Top comment, not the asshole. I am sure the rest of your office mates are glad you were rude, because they likely feel the same way.
Yeah, you've always also got that office busybody who wants to just sit around and gossip, and you're like, I got shit to get done. Stop bothering me.
There is one of those in every office, like, oh my God, do you not have your own work? Because I am so behind.
Yeah.
I will also add in, though, I think Reddit is very heavily populated by the type of people who don't want to talk to their coworkers at all.
That's probably true.
I'm here to work. I'm not here to be your friend. And there needs to be a happy middle ground, in my opinion.
Yeah, Reddit seems a lot like the people who don't want to interact with people in person, but like doing it online. So that's why they're here on Reddit.
But that's why you need to send a message instead of talk to me.
Yeah.
Not the asshole. She's a colleague, not your best friend. From what you've written, your words were firm, but not unacceptable. She might have felt scolded, but you're at work to do work, and people need boundaries. Part of me does wonder if Jane thought that you were her office bestie. The person that she could always gossip with. Because I've definitely had an office bestie who I chat with. Mm-hmm. And you pop over the little divider on your desks and be like, hey, did you hear? But, no, you're not the asshole for snapping at her. Seems like Jane misunderstood your relationship.
But they did never say whether Jane legitimately needed something or if she was just there to gossip. What if she really needed something to get her work done and you snapped at her and wouldn't help her?
I mean, I guess she can send a message.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Am I the asshole for telling my coworker I'm going to go to the police if she doesn't give me my belonging back?
How expensive is this item? Because I don't know if the police will take it seriously if it's less than a certain amount. Also, is this something that you should be going to HR instead of the police for?
I mean, going to HR before the police is just sort of you being polite.
Yeah.
You're allowed to go to the police at any point. So, around 3 weeks ago, I forgot my jacket at work, and since I knew that my coworker was still working there at the time, I asked her if my jacket was still there so that I could pick it up. She answered me that it was indeed still there and that she took it for me and was going to bring it to me the next time we worked together. I thanked her since that was very nice of her. But then, every time I would see her, she would always forget to bring it with her. I told her that she could bring the jacket back any day, even on days when I wouldn't have to work. I could still pick it up, but she still forgot.
I'm sorry, I'm just confused. What kind of place do you work where you can't leave a jacket there overnight?
So she gets to it a little later in an edit, but she works at a coffee shop where it is common for customers to maybe walk off with something unattended. Although, I don't know, maybe there's a back room you could tuck the jacket in.
Yeah, I worked at Dunkin' Donuts, and, there's just, a back room where I would throw my coat and stuff that, that customers couldn't access, and, I would be totally fine. I maybe wouldn't leave, my wallet and my purse in there overnight, but just, leaving a coat there, that'd be totally fine. I can't think of a workplace where there was no place in the back where you could just, leave a coat.
Yeah, generally you need somewhere to store the bags of beans and everything, so I would assume there's somewhere you could store the coat in there, but I don't know the layout of her workplace.
Okay, so this is a little weird already. Somebody left their coat here. I'll just take it home. That's weird, but okay, continue.
After 2 weeks, I would wake up early before her shift starts to ask her if she could bring it with her today, but she wouldn't answer. So, I called her. She answered that she couldn't because she was sick and wouldn't even come the whole week. I said, okay, no problem. Get healthy soon. Just text me when I can pick it up. A week passes, and I see she works on Monday, so I ask her again, can I come pick it up? No answer. So, after a few hours, I call her and ask if she read my text. She said she didn't come to work because of a doctor's appointment. I apologized for annoying her with my jacket, but since this is the last week that I will be working, I would like to come pick it up from her. I told her we can meet up anywhere at any time. She should just tell me when and where. She said, okay, today's fine. So, I wait for a text from her where we should meet, but nothing comes. I text her, is today still okay, and no answer. Text her again that it's a really important jacket for me, and that I would like to pick it up this week. Still no answer, even though she read the message. The next day, I text her again that I've seen she works on Wednesday, and if I could come pick it up. Again, no answer. I try to call her, but all that comes is the mailbox. I already tried calling her the day before, and again, only mailbox. At this point, I'm frustrated since she reads my messages, but doesn't even answer if now is a good time. So I ask my friend for advice, and they tell me to tell her that if she doesn't bring me my jacket and won't answer me, that I should just tell her I'm going to go to the police. So I texted her that, and after a few hours, I get a text from her asking what my problem was and that I should calm down, princess. I just answered with, see you on Wednesday, don't forget my jacket. Now I feel like I went too far with my text about going to the police. Before that, there was no issue between us, and I was always friendly to her. I don't know how I will face her today. Am I the asshole?
Wow, you really want this coat back, and she's really lazy about getting it back to you.
I wonder if it's even a nice coat.
I'm like, well, what is this? Okay, it's either got to be extremely sentimental or an extremely expensive coat.
I mean, we live in Michigan. Your coat is kind of important here.
Yeah.
So, I can fully understand being cold. Like, it was kind of warm. It warmed up that afternoon, so you didn't need your coat, so you kind of walked off without it. And then the next day, it's below freezing. And you're like, oh my God, how did I not take my coat?
Also, I don't think you should be worried so much about whether you're the asshole or not for threatening her with the police, because why do you care what she thinks? You're going to not be working there very soon, and you won't have to deal with her anymore. Burn those bridges.
That's true. Definitely burn the bridges. And also, it's been over a week.
It's been like 2 weeks almost,
Yeah.
right? Get that coat back. I'd be like, dude, I will come to your house. Why would you even take my coat in the first place? I will come to your house. Let me come get my coat. Because apparently you cannot be bothered to bring it back to me.
It definitely sounds like that, doesn't it? For context, it was a new jacket that was expensive to me.
Yeah, I guess also if you're working in a coffee shop part-time, money might be a little tight. So if you bought a nice new winter coat, you want that back.
Also, it's just the principle
Yeah.
of somebody taking something that's yours and then not bringing it back.
She said they took her jacket, and I was like, okay, so like a hoodie, like, what is that, like $20? I was like, eh.
Yeah, I mean,
At some point, if it was cheap enough, at some point I'd just be like, it's a lost cause. I've lost that forever, But a coat is more expensive, and it is also the principle of the thing. You're right.
I think it's mostly the principle of the thing. I mean, like, also, it is, you spent maybe $200 on a nice jacket, maybe. Mm-hmm. It's a little bit of an investment. It's not like I would lose any sleep if I lost it, but I know where it is, and she just won't give it back to me. That kind of makes me mad.
Yeah. I'd be like, she just really likes my new coat, and she stole it, and she never had any intention of bringing it back. She's wearing it to her doctor's appointment right now, I bet.
After the first few days, yeah, I think I'm going to start suspecting her of just really liking that coat.
She's like, ooh, someone left a nice fancy coat back here. And oh, it happens to fit me. I'm just going to take this with me.
She adds in, I heard that she might not even work there anymore because of some issues that my boss has had with her. So it felt like if I don't ask her now, I might never get it back. She's just trying to quit and take the coat with her, it sounds like.
You need to get her address from your bosses because it's probably on file. Just show up at her house and be like, bitch, give me my coat.
Top comment. Since she literally stole your jacket and had no legitimate reason to take it home with her at any point in time, you've been very patient in not doing so, and it might be your only option if you want it back. At least you have witnesses, not the asshole.
And she has text messages saying that she has the coat.
It's true. She's got a whole chain of text
Evidence.
messages. Yeah.
Evidence.
Just that end in calm down, princess. Not the asshole because she stole your jacket and was planning to keep it. That's why she kept pulling excuses out of her ass since she was full of shit.
Yeah.
She knew it was expensive and was just being a vulture. Notice how quickly she responded to the police threat? It sounds like she has a habit of doing things like this, and that might be part of the reason why your boss is firing her. I'd ask around to see if she has done this before and then tell them to go to HR about it.
But she don't work there anymore, so what's HR going to do?
That's true. Once she doesn't work there anymore, it's a police matter, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
And then a quick update.
Okay.
I got my jacket back.
Yay!
Luckily, my sister went and picked my jacket up since it's on her way from work, so that I didn't even have to argue with my coworker. Thanks to all the advice, I will tell my boss about the situation, and I will not interact with my coworker from now on. So, sister, sounds like went to the apartment and just got it.
Yep, good sister.
Am I the asshole for not telling my friend she was getting fired and that I saved her job, which led to her getting super fired?
I don't know how to respond to that.
She got super fired, Kristie.
Ooh, that's tough. I mean, I can kind of see wanting to spare your friend's feelings and like not let them know that they were about to get fired and stuff. But also, you should give your friend a little bit of warning that they were about to get fired so they stop doing whatever they were doing that was getting them fired.
I can definitely see that being like, hey, the ice is a little thin right now.
Maybe just stop coming in so late to work anymore. I can't cover for you anymore.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, but yeah, maybe be on your best behavior for a little while because you're on thin ice, yeah. But I can also see the other side where you don't want to be like, hey, you were about to get fired and I saved your job. It could, like, you don't want your friend to feel indebted to you.
It does kind of depend on what your relationship at the office is a little bit because, yeah, I can see saying like, hey, just so you know, this is a hot issue right now.
Uh-huh.
Maybe clean up your act. I talked him down. But
the rest is on you.
Yeah, be aware of this. I work with my best friend's girlfriend. Her and I are friendly, but not really friends. If it weren't for her relationship with Jeremy, I would not be friends with her. I told her about the job in question and even put in a good word for her. She wasn't working out. She tried her best, but she had a personality clash with her supervisor. She was still in the 90-day probationary period, so she was going to be terminated with no notice. That's life, really. We regularly hire a bunch of people and keep the good ones and dismiss the ones that can't cut it or aren't a good fit. We actually were getting rid of over a dozen people that day. Cutthroat industry.
Yeah, it really is. I do also feel like recommending an acquaintance for a job, that is risky on your part. Because that, like, reflects on you if that person doesn't work out.
It absolutely does.
Like, he stuck his neck out for her, trying to get her this job for his friend.
I've had that go both ways for me. I've had the one who really works out and everything's good, and then I had the one who was so bad that my friend held a grudge against me. And I'm like, I'm so sorry. I did not know he was going to do that. I know that her and Jeremy aren't doing well financially, so I stepped in and volunteered to take her on my team. It was a lateral move for her. I didn't really need her, but my boss gives me a lot of freedom in my department. I didn't want to freak her out, so I never told her she was not working out well on her team. To say the least, I can understand why she didn't work out. She is great at her job and a hard worker, but God almighty, she has a terrible job site personality.
Oh no.
She rubs everyone the wrong way, including my supervisor. He actually questioned my decision to transfer her to my team.
Yeah, he is really sticking his neck out for this girl, and she has no clue about it, so she is not, being appreciative or careful.
Yeah, she's not working with all the information she needs. I mean, it's a little her fault for being awful.
Yeah, I do also feel like she has a terrible worksite personality. I'm not sure even if she knew that, that's something she could fix.
It's a tough one to fix, isn't it?
Yeah.
I couldn't protect her from herself. Originally, she was just being terminated and that was it. She would have been free to reapply to the company. Now she is on the NERF list, not eligible for rehire. She really thought the reason I got her to my team was because we needed her help. She alienated everyone. Again, she is good at the job and incredibly dedicated. She just is a shitty person to work with and she brings down morale.
So it sounds like she has a superiority complex. Like, you guys need me.
A little bit, right? Like,
Yeah.
if you rub everyone the wrong way, I'm not sure I would call you good at your job.
Yeah, almost. I mean, yeah, like she gets stuff done, but at what cost?
I told Jeremy what happened and he said he understood, but she is pissed. She said that if I had told her she was on the chopping block, she would have behaved differently. She said it's kind of my fault for not warning her. I don't know, I feel badly for her, but she kind of dug her own grave.
I don't know. I'm almost of the opinion that you should always kind of try and act like you are on the chopping block and do your best at work so that you don't get fired at all times.
That's a little paranoid.
I am extremely paranoid.
I would just say, I personally would appreciate to be working with all the information.
Yeah.
I wouldn't go so far as to call you the asshole because you stuck your neck out for this girl twice.
Mm-hmm.
And she obviously was not behaving her best at the office if she's alienating everyone. But I also think you could have stood to just tell her, hey, you're on thin ice. I don't think you were super justified in hiding that information.
Yeah, like he did say that he didn't want to make her and Jeremy worry because they're having financial struggles, but like, you should let her worry, right?
Yeah, it's her finances. Let her worry about her finances with all the information.
She should be worrying.
Yeah, and you could say it politely.
Mm-hmm.
Just be like, hey, you're actually on this chopping block list. I can get you in on my team. But just be aware, it's,
You're still on probation.
Yeah, you're still on probation. You need to be on your best behavior for the next 90 days.
Yeah. Although she did go into the job knowing there was a 90-day probation period where she could be let go with no warning and no reason. And she was not on her best behavior then either.
I think that's just a different country's standard.
Oh, okay.
I don't remember which one. It might be the UK, but I think I've heard of another country that just has that as the standard behavior.
Then everyone should be on their best behavior for the first 90 days, and she was not.
She was not.
I don't know if warning her would have helped, because she should have known to be on her best behavior, and she wasn't.
Top comment. If I knew hurting others would hurt me, then I wouldn't have hurt others. You must be the real problem here.
Yeah, that is kind of her mind frame, and that doesn't make sense.
Oh, no consequences. Not the asshole. She should learn to not be a dick, and Elsa to not blame others for her being a dick. Fair.
That is fair.
I don't think you are the bad person in this, but I do think you should have told her about her attitude and how she should fix it. I think you should have explained that she needs to have a good attitude in jobs, and if she doesn't choose to take your advice, she's in the wrong. Somebody replied to that, giving feedback is what managers are supposed to do. Plus, she's a friend. Maybe it wouldn't do any good, but I would expect some kind of warning from you.
Yeah, that is a good point. As her manager and her friend, he really should have kind of warned her a little bit. And then the consequences are 100% on her, and he can't be blamed.
That's exactly it. Like, obviously, she's an asshole in this situation.
Mm-hmm.
Your attempt to not hurt her feelings does make you slightly the asshole, in my opinion. You are taking responsibility for her twice by recommending her for these jobs, so you have to cover your own butt a little. OP is a shitty manager. They basically set this woman up to fail. Ultimately, the woman has to be accountable for her own actions, but employees generally do not fuck up their jobs on purpose. They do it because they either don't know they're fucking up, or they know they're fucking up but don't know how to fix it. If you don't do them the kindness of giving them clear, unambiguous feedback and provide coaching if they need it, then they will absolutely continue to fail. This situation is worse, though, because not only did OP not give her feedback, they allowed this woman to believe that she was seen as a high performer who was in demand. Of course she got fired. OP set her on a course that could only end in termination. It's quite possible that even with proper feedback she would have continued her behavior, but there's also a chance she would have changed. As a manager, if I have to fire someone, I want to know that the employee had all the facts and either was truly unable to deliver or chose to continue doing what they were doing, and that firing them is the only option. A manager who fires someone having never given them feedback, assuming not gross misconduct, should also be fired as they aren't doing their job either.
Those are all very good points.
Yeah, so I think you're a little bit the asshole. Not to a level that I'm going to condemn you, but you also need to do better next time.
Everybody sucks, but her more than you.
All right, that's our last story for today. Thanks for tuning in to Josh and Kristie Stealing the Internet.
Hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you next time.